Preseason football fans, to another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin', where we talk about all things Carolina Panthers, from the regular season to the postseason to the Super Bowl, from the offseason to the draft to OTAs and the preseason. Let the growlin' begin. Good evening, all you Panther fans. Glad you could join us here on the preseason finale edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo. And, well, I guess before we really get into it, we can kind of see some upside with Frank Reich calling the plays tonight. Not saying that Thomas Brown's play calling was the issue, but you can see it was a little bit better tonight. And Bryce Young was a little bit more comfortable. And the results kind of spoke for themselves. You know, I think, if I recall correctly, almost, if not all of his incompletions were throwaways. He goes 7 of 12 tonight for 73 yards and a beautiful touchdown pass to Adam Thielen, which could have been a little out in front of him, but it was a touchdown. And good to see Adam Thielen back up. He had a scary incident that happened earlier tonight, and hoping, we've already got enough injuries to our receiving core. And the good thing is he bounced back, made that reception, and guys like Jonathan Mingo, Giovanni Ricci had a pretty good game. I hate to see him get cut. He looked pretty good. Definitely using him in a lot of different formations, from tight end to fullback, But for the most part, you're looking at just Adam Thielen and no DJ Shark tonight, and Laviska Shenault as well. But there were a couple of guys that really needed to be out there, and Shenault needed to be out there tonight. But Thielen looked good, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. Gary Jennings has had a good preseason. He's really been good. And outside of that, we've had some good moments today, but the Lions were the ones that came away with the victory, 26-17. So we fall to 0-3 in preseason. And outside of Bryce Young from the quarterback position was not our best friend tonight, guys. Andy Dalton threw an interception at the goal line. It was a good play, but the ball was still behind. I think it was Matt Ryan that said that ball needed to be about a foot out in front. And it wasn't. It ended up going for an interception. So we were right there inside the 10-yard line. So that was huge. But looking on the offensive side, the offensive side was a little bit better. But Ike Ekwonu gave up another rush tonight. I don't know if that sack goes on him, but we'll see when the results come out and the PFF ratings come out tomorrow. But I would venture to say that his guy beat him. He just wasn't the first one to get there. So, but other than that, there was a couple of pressures. But I love the way Bryce moved and manipulated the pocket. If he can do those things, and we can get DJ Shark and Laviska Shenault on the same page with them, this is going to be very dangerous, because he manipulates the pocket well and had some really good scrambles tonight as well. He was probably one of the few lone spots. There were a couple of defensive guys that had a good night. And I was really impressed with the way Bryce manipulated the pocket and was able to get out of the pocket and run and, just really do some good things within the pocket. That's what we're going to need from him. Being able to manipulate the pocket and be able to move around and, point things out, you point guys in the right directions, so on and so forth. And hopefully that comes into play with our speedy receivers. But amongst all of that, we can look and we can see some things that need to be worked on. Definitely looking downfield. But there were some really good throws tonight, and we should be very much encouraged about Bryce's future. He looked very good, and I will include a couple of these throws before we head out tonight. But looking at it as a whole, the first two drives, and matter of fact, the first three drives, I might add, looked pretty much like I had hoped we would look at the very beginning part of preseason. And it was nice to finally see that. We scored on both drives, and that was pretty much what I was hoping to see. Like as I said, going down the list, we see once again Matt Corral seemingly struggled, and it's going to be tough for him to make the roster. The plus side is he was one of the quarterbacks not named Bryce Young to not throw an interception. So, silver lining. But he only hit 4 of 12 from the field. Andy Dalton went 6 of 11 and threw a big interception. Jake Luton went 6 of 12 and threw a pick 6. But he was sacked twice. Looking around, like I said, the offensive line looked a little bit better, but they still gave up a sack early. And that's got to get cleaned up, guys. That has to get cleaned up. But running the ball, we looked okay. Matt Corral had a really good scramble later on in the game in the third quarter. It was 27 yards. And like I said, he looked pretty nifty. And he manipulates the pocket well, but he's just got to hit those throws. It's just a must. But Cameron Peoples had a costly fumble, which would have made the game close, and not sure that's going to help his chances, and probably won't. But as we haven't seen Miles Sanders all preseason, we didn't see Chuba Hubbard tonight as well. But let's look at the receiving core. As I said earlier, Gary Jennings has had a really good camp. He had 4 for 52, had one drop, I would say. It was a tough drop. And like I said, Giovanni Ricci had a good game tonight. Adam Thielen, of course. Tommy Tremble had a good 21-yard grab tonight, as well as C.J. Saunders with a good 18-yard. And Mingo, once again, having a lone grab, but it was a good grab. Shi Smith had an okay night. But for the most part, other than the drive that Luton led late and they did not score on, it was all Bryce Young. Unfortunately, well, we could even say Dalton had a pretty good drive, and then he coupled with a bad throw into the end zone. But as I said, it's got to be a situation where we just have to get better on offense, and it's just going to have to watch the film and see what they can do better. Offensive line, like I said, was better. But going to the defensive side, I didn't see my boy Barno out there tonight. And of course, Spider-Man was not out there. And Justin Houston was not out there. But J.C. Horn, Xavier Woods, and Jeremy Chin were out there. I did not see Shaq Thompson out there tonight. Did say Raekwon Williams, he had a pretty good game and has been playing well. And looking at Brandon Smith, who had a tackle for loss, he had a decent game. 2 tackles and a tackle for a loss. But as I said, Chandler Wooten had a sack, as well as Ace Ely, another guy fighting for a spot. These must be guys that are fighting for a practice squad or possible added to the roster possibly. So I'm hoping my boy Barno played well enough that they didn't need to see anything else, because I did not see him out there tonight. You guys know how I feel about Amari Barno. This is a guy that, in my opinion, should be second in charge. We did see Gross Matos, but I did not see him pick up any kind of play. Saw DJ Johnson. He had a tackle for a loss and had a shot at another one. But, of course, Bumper Pools, a guy that everybody is really starting to grow on. Keith Taylor had another good night. He had 5 solos. And Rajon Wright had a pretty good night. Hopefully they hang on to him. I love his length. C.J. Henderson had 2 big mishaps. And I think they're going to build that 70-yard catch and run for 6. They're going to put that on Rajon Wright. I looked at it and it looked like he was pinned by his own guy. But that run defense tonight was much better from the Carolina Panthers. And I think that probably has a lot to do with Deshaun Williams. And, because We parted ways with Marquand McCall, and even when he ended up with New England, he ended up being cut there as well. So I'm thinking it was more of the essence. It wasn't the Panthers doing it; it was McCall. I'm not trying to say McCall was a bad player. He didn't bring what it was. He just wasn't fit for us, and apparently he wasn't the fit for the Patriots either. So, wrapping this up, the Panthers finish 0-3. I think it's safe to say that, and we'll have another show where we find out who we think will be the 53. And who's most likely to be the 53. I think the Lions are going to be contenders, and this is a pretty decent measuring stick. And with certain players not playing for the Panthers, and same with the Detroit Lions, I think this is an excellent gauge to see what it is they have. But looking back at what we can find positives in is that Bryce Young is exceptionally cool and collective, composed in the pocket, and knows the right plays to make. It's just going to be getting that continuity with his receivers that's going to be tough. You can see if he ever gets to a point where he builds that with his receivers, it's going to be very, very good for the Carolina Panthers offense. And, with something else, we haven't seen Brian Burns and Justin Houston together. And I'm interested to see how that dynamic is going to work going forward. But we definitely have to make sure that defensive line is, especially nose tackle. That's going to have to be huge. That's going to have to be a position that we feel it adequately. We didn't see Derek Brown tonight, so these are guys that we're going to have to, for the most part, depend on to make this thing work. We have to end up in second and longs and third and longs for the defense to be efficient, so we can go out and do what we do. We can't do it like we did inside the red zone earlier. I think it was 3rd and goal at the 6, and they just handed the ball off, and he zigzagged right through the defense, in for 6 for Detroit. So that can't happen. But guys, let me know what you think about the Panthers finishing the season 0-3, and were you satisfied with not only Bryce Young, but what were you satisfied with the Panthers' performance this evening? Make sure you hit me up at Mr. CeeLo, and be sure to go to the Facebook page at Growlin' and Prowlin' and see what kind of polls we may have up tonight. We may have a poll. We have a poll up that says, "Are you satisfied with the Panthers' performance?" and what were your thoughts on Bryce Young's performance for tonight? But before we go, I hope you guys have a safe and happy night. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.